yet ready to, we're not in the state yet where there can be a science of such things as Aristotle would say.
Anybody else have a question before I keep going? Okay. You say color like beauty, and the like, I don't know what the like are. Those are probably some other transcendentals, are not reducible. Well, it doesn't, that they don't give us an explanation. Can you give me more, tell me more about how it relates to beauty and those other qualities? Is it that we will not have anything that's going to account for it completely in terms of reduction? Or we're just not to a point yet where even needing to say that is a requirement at this point?
I take it seriously that the realm is autonomous. Well, it doesn't mean it's hanging in the air, or issued from Platonic heaven. Right. I think in the actual world, mental properties are fixed by physical properties.
Supervenience? Is that kind of what we're alluding to here?
Super duper venience, but I'm not sure that works. The well, yeah, you have some sort of causal and nomological supervenience in the actual world. Or at least seems to be, and so but there also seem to be genuinely emergent properties. And those emergent properties seem to take on a life of their own. They seem to be autonomous. I used the example in class. I'm not at all, in class this semester, and I'm not at all sure the example is correct. That the energy state of a water molecule, its energy state, is a property. Now, if you had an assemblage, if you had an aggregate of water molecules that had that energy state, or at least had that energy state as a mean, that aggregate of molecules would be liquid. So is that one molecule by itself, are we to identify liquidity with that energy state? That strikes me as attributing properties that make no sense.
So it's like saying, is that water molecule wet? You're just not going to go there.
Well, yeah, it's liquid. Being liquid is being wet. Yeah, I said that the question is misconceived. And that is that, but surely we would want to say liquidity is a real property of things, even though it's not to be. So liquidity is not to be identified with the mean kinetic energy of molecules. That just seems to be nonsensical.
So in the same vein, color is not to be kind of reduced to this neuronal...
looking in the wrong place.
Yeah, you're trying to find how you made a wire transfer by looking at the wire signals that were in the cable, rather than just saying, well, a woman made a call and here's my money. Okay.
I think it's just looking in the wrong place.
So where do we look?
Well, there is a science of economics. I agree with Tyler Burge. It's been Tyler Burge's position for a while that neuroscience right now is just not ready for prime time. But that the science that's really interesting and impressive right now is the psychology of perception, the psychology of vision in particular. Let's see, what are the names here? I'm slipping my mind, but there's a kind of computational psychology of vision, including color vision, which is generally, which is genuinely expanding our understanding. And there you do have predictions. Right now, what you have in neuroscience, seems to me, is where it is not in fact cases of misplaced concreteness. Where that's the area where this is the area of the brain where emotions take place. Well, emotions are not the kinds of things that can be in me. Emotions are a completely different kind of state that can be embodied in brains. But that's kind of simple vulgar scientism. But what you have is simply right now a purely descriptive enterprise. You don't have a theory. It seems to me, at any rate, you're looking at it from the outside, that's going to give you a genuinely scientific understanding. What you have is a cool technology plus experimental results. And they certainly don't tell us the right kind of things to constitute explanations. I mean, no one was, and I mean, a lot of it is, you give people dimes, are they going to judge more lightly? Well, no one ever doubted that antecedent mental states influence consequent mental states. No one ever questioned that. No one ever questioned that. I mean, no one but a substance dualist ever questioned that that mentality and thoughts and beliefs have some sort of physical base. I mean, we're physical beings. I think the question at issue is whether the physical facts are the only facts there are. So that's my project. That's why I'm interested in color vision, because color constitutes the place where a lot of really smart people are working on how do different realms of metaphysics fit together. How do the realms of beauty and value and so forth? How can we understand those in a world where the natural sciences have such a prominent place?
I'm hesitant to ask this question because I'm sure I'll sound like an idiot, but you say that...
As opposed to the idiot I've been sounding like for the last hour and a half.
I don't know, you sound like a pretty smart idiot to me. You say colors are objective intrinsic properties, irreducible supervenia on the microstructural properties of theory 2. What kind of things are colors? What is it? Is it that they possess properties like, I don't know, whatever is smaller than an atom would possess? Or what is it that makes them irreducible and supervenient of the microstructural properties?
Well, what makes them irreducible, it would seem, is that any attempt at reduction seems to have fundamental problems with it.
Okay.
That is, it opens up questions. Well, let's say you have a particular surface property.
Okay.
You have a particular. I'd say you're going to be a stone cold, color physicalist. Colors are the surface properties of objects. Okay, all right. So red is produced by this particular surface property, or this junction of surface properties. Okay, well, in a possible world where the sun is, a white dwarf, or where the laws of physics are different, is this going to be red? Even though if we were to go into that world, it would look under normal viewing conditions to be, let's say, yellow.
Okay.
And it says, well, you might go, I don't know. I don't know what color it's going to be. The question is misconceived. That is, I believe in that first one, paradigm. There are paradigms of colors. We're sometimes right about the colors. Some of our color experiences, some of our color judgments are true. And those color judgments and those color experiences are explained by the things being that color. So roses really are red. Is red a response-dependent property? I suppose so. But then being kind is a response-dependent property too. Yet I want to say, kindness is not being a jerk is response-dependent property. I want to say that people really can be jerks. People really can be kind.
Right. I see.
That's at least one possible way to sell it. Response-dependent properties are real. I mean, the real furniture of the world. Your access to them depends on being the sort of person who's, being the sort of creature who's responsive to it.
Do a doubt in here and put on my my dumbit hat and not be a realist. I'm going to be anti-realist for a second. This is all cute and fun talk you have here, but you remove all the minds from the world and all of this color is just really not there, and there's nobody who could even verify that, necessarily so. Huh?
I deny that.
You just say, okay, well, that's silly. And I'd say, well, it would require that you at least need people here that are receiving some kind of color information to be able to make claims about color. And I'm taking the assumption where there's a possible world where there are no people.
I think there are some properties that vanish in the absence of perceivers, conscious, perceivers, or at least perceivers who are viewing the world from a particular point of view. I don't think color is such a property, any more than beauty is such a property. The beauty of the world would still be there.
So what type of things would be changed if there weren't?
Oh, something's being to the left of something else. Yeah, something's being here.
So like the handedness or whatever?
Yeah.
Argument?
Maybe something's being warm.
But don't,
Warm may consist entirely of feeling warm.
but don't,
Something's being tall.
But don't I mean, are you talking about when you say to perceive them as in just us, or is like anything, like all animals and everything like that? Because some animals can.
Oh yeah, I assume anything with a visual system.
But,
To say that subjective is to say that they would vanish. To say that they are response dependent is to say that they would still be there. Except no one would have the right kind of response to detect it.
Okay, so
But no one would be detecting anything.
right, so if everybody vanished, there's just, the property to produce red, and viewers, like you aforementioned, is still widely available. It just needs some light detectors.
Yeah, but what we need is to pry the concept of being response dependent apart from the concept of being subjective. I think those are two different notions, and we tend to lump them together.
What do you think the motivation for that is, philosophically?
I think the motivation for it is a kind of misguided scientism.
Fair, I like that answer.
And it goes back. The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking about, God, I wish no one had ever taught Plato to Galileo. It's just, for Galileo, it's clear only the geometrical properties of things are real. Well, that's separable. His philosophy of science there is surely separable from the science itself.
You were saying that properties like being taller than another would not exist if there were no viewers to view.
Well, the property being tall.
That would be existent. So like.
No, that would vanish, because to be tall, the property being smart, right? The property being smart is property being smarter than other people.
But couldn't one tree be taller than another tree?
No, sure, but no tree could be tall.
Okay, because there's nothing to reference it from.
Because there tall is because tall is an artificially constructed property that's constructed out of the comparison presupposed to a certain range.
So would one rose have the quality of being redder than another rose?
I don't see why not.
Even if there are no perceivers?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Alright, I see how that follows.
Yeah, so the color's still there, just the conversation about that color has gone away.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. And the tree being tall, it doesn't matter if the tree is tall or not.
It's not comparing its relations with the
Right.
color. That's something we're kind of palpating within the tree, or within. I like the smartness example. You know, you go to Louisiana and relatively you're gonna feel much smarter coming from California. I actually went back from Mardi Gras and it was easy to feel smart. I like it. So yeah, I believe that's true.
Yeah.
So it's the taller than Mickey Rooney contest.
Easy, not happening for me. Are you a primitivist?
A what?
A color primitivist?
I don't know. I'm trying to calculate the cost. I may be a color response dependentist, but not a primitivist.